All right, as the Morrison government faces accusations of stabbing France in the back by abandoning the $90 billion future submarine contract, one senator says the deal should have been ditched months ago. South Australian Senator Rex Patrick, himself a former submariner, says the French contract should have been terminated following significant delays in the attack class design process. Rex Patrick joins me now from Adelaide. Senator, thank you for your time. I want to start, if I can, asking you about the French reaction. My sense is the French are cloaking their anger about being left out of this alliance, the AUKUS agreement. They're cloaking it in a loss of face, I guess, about the commercial reality here, all this talk about broken contracts, etc. What are we likely to see in terms of compensation here?
Well, look, the French are probably rightfully disturbed that they didn't get given notice, but there's no question that the French has let Australia down in relation to this program. It went from $50 billion to a $90 billion program. It was delayed. The last two milestones were 10 and 8 months respectively late. We weren't meeting expectations in relation to Australian industry content. And it's not clear we were going to get a regionally superior submarine, which is what we contracted for. My view is that we should have been exiting this some time ago, and one of the problems we've got is that we're now exiting by way of terminate for convenience rather than terminate for default, which is where we should have been going. There will be a break payment now because of the way in which we've exited this. And we have to cover all the costs. So, for example, we do have people that are still in Cherbourg in France that are paid for and employed by Naval Group Australia. It's reasonable to expect that Naval Group will continue to pay those people until they're in a position to be able to come home. And, of course, the Commonwealth will have to compensate. But this is a $2.4 billion program that has now been terminated. So it's a lot of money, and we do need to look back and say what happened there, because whilst I think it was the right thing to do, I question the way in which we went into this.
Look, I couldn't agree with you more. I think it was a mistake from the get-go. I think that the changing relationship between what Australia thought they were buying and what progressively, month by month, was being delivered in terms of the contract negotiations, the amount of Australian content, jobs in Australia, all of that. But you and I know that the biggest gossips in Canberra are those in and around the defence procurement area of all the lobbyists, etc. I mean, this has been going off the rail for months and months and months. Why didn't someone in Canberra call an end to it and deal with this earlier?
Yeah, again, they should have been working towards a default position. There's no question that there were delays with the milestones, and that would have been a much smoother exit. In fact, we could have done that while still negotiating in secret with the United States and the United Kingdom, bearing in mind that what's been announced by the Prime Minister is not a new contract, simply a study that will take place over the next 18 months, an intergovernmental study looking at what they might need to do to get a nuclear-powered submarine. So it's not a definitive announcement. We could have exited this much more simply.
Look, I'm a fan of the decision. I think it's bold. I'm really pleased to see that we're a country that could still make these big decisions. But you're the expert, not me. You're the only member of Parliament that I'm aware of that's ever served on a nuclear boat. Do you have a preference between the Virginia class, the American boat, or the British class, the Astute? Is there one we should be preferencing over the other?
Well, I don't know what the government's plans are. The Virginia-class boats are clearly very good boats, but I wonder why the UK were introduced into the arrangement as a trilateral arrangement. If we were just to get the Virginias, we didn't need the British. I suspect that the United States, their Navy, have been sort of kicking and screaming, concerned that they aren't getting boats fast enough and won't want to relinquish a submarine for use by Australia. That looks like, therefore, it might go to the British. There is another possibility, and that is that both the Virginia class and the Astute class have replacement programs running at this point in time. There might be a circumstance where we end up with a common submarine between the United States, the UK, and indeed Australia. So we don't know where this is going. All we know is it is a big, bold step. people ask me, do I feel safe, or did I feel safe on a submarine, nuclear-powered submarine? And the answer to that is, I certainly did, but I was also on a submarine that had been operated by the US Navy and backed by a nuclear industry with fantastic safety regimes, and that's the sort of thing we've got to strive to get to.
Yeah, I just hope, this will sound crazy because it doesn't normally happen this way in politics, but given your experience and your place in the Senate, I just hope someone in the government reaches out to you, ex-Patrick, and gets you on some sort of working group as they navigate the next 18 months, because your expertise, and they're going to want your vote in the Parliament if there's legislation required here, it just seems to me to be a smart move. But we'll see if that happens. Rex-Patrick, thank you for your time.
I'd always be happy to help. Thank you.
I'm sure you would, and they'd be smart to ask you, wouldn't they? Smart to ask you.